Welcome back to the Mayhem Summer Slam, where questionable teams bring questionable brews. For this week, we're wrapping up round 1 of Canadian Highlander with Orcish Bowmasters taking on Ballistic Studies. With that being said, let's check out the pod today. First, we have Cole on Grixis White, a Jeskai Black deck that seeks to stop everything and anything its opponent does, land powerful threats, and win with a late game push. And Tanner on Time Vault +3, an Orzhov artifact deck that seeks to use Searchers and Recursion to quickly assemble an artifact-based combo. And now, with each pilot on their respective corner of the screen, let us begin.
Cole plays an Underground Sea and Thoughtseize, looking at Tanner's hand, discarding Ratchet Field Medic and losing 2 life. Cole passes. Tanner draws, plays a Swamp and his own Thoughtseize, looking at Cole's hand, discarding Brazen Borrower and losing 2 life. Tanner passes. Cole draws, plays an Arid Mesa, and passes. Tanner draws, plays Marsh Flats, and cracks it, paying a life. In response, Cole cracks Arid Mesa, paying a life, fetching up a Rogran Triumph tap. Tanner fetches up a Scrubland, plays a Chromatic Star, a Blood Fountain, creating Blood token when it enters, and passes. Cole draws, plays a Scalding Tarn, and passes. Tanner draws, plays a Spire of Industry, and cracks Chromatic Star for a black, drawing a card. At the end of turn, Cole cracks his Scalding Tarn, paying a life, fetching up a Volcanic Island, and casts Shadow Prophecy. Looking at the top 4, putting 2 into his hand, the rest into his graveyard, and losing 2 life. The turn moves to Cole. Cole draws, plays Preordain, scrying 1 top, 1 bottom, draws a card, and passes. Tanner draws, plays a City of Traders and Ravenloft Adventurer. In response, Cole casts Mana Leak, countering Adventurer. Tanner passes. Cole draws and plays Baleful Strix, drawing a card when it enters. At the end of turn, Tanner cracks his Blood token, discarding and drawing a card. The turn moves to Tanner. Tanner draws and plays Shieldred, the Apocalypse, and at the end of turn, Cole casts Unholy Heat with Delirium, destroying Shieldred. The turn moves to Cole. Cole draws and moves to combat, attacking Tanner with Strix. Tanner takes the hit, and in his second main phase, Cole plays Ancestral Recall, targeting himself, drawing 3 cards, and pays 2 life to cast Cataxian Probe, looking at Tanner's hand and drawing. Cole passes. Tanner draws and plays Savine's Reclamation, returning Ratchet, Field Medic to the battlefield. Plays Expedition Map, and at the end of turn, Cole plays Shieldred's Edict, Tanner sacrificing Ratchet. The turn moves to Cole. Cole draws and moves to combat, attacking Tanner with Strix. Tanner takes the hit, and in his second main phase, Cole plays Kolaghan's Command, destroying Blood Fountain and discarding Tanner's last card. He puts a Steve Vents into play untapped, paying 2 life, plays Opt, scrying 1, drawing, and passing. Tanner draws and cracks Map, fetching him and playing an Urza Saga, sacrificing City of Traders when it enters, and moves to Chapter 1. Tanner passes. Cole draws and moves to combat, attacking Tanner with Strix. Tanner takes the hit, and in his second main phase, Cole plays the Silver Bluff Canal tapped, and Kaido, Dancing Shadow, zeroing him, drawing a card, and passing. Tanner draws an Urza Saga, moves to Chapter 2. He plays an Arid Mesa, and passes. Cole draws, plays a Bloodstained Mire, and cracks it, paying a life, fetching up a Scrubland. He zeroes Kaido. In response, Tanner cracks his Arid Mesa, paying a life, fetching up a Plains. He flashes in Orcish Bowmasters, pinging Strix and amassing Orcs 1. Then, Cole draws from Kaido, and Tanner pings Cole, amassing Orcs 1. Cole follows it up with Flame Slash, destroying Bowmasters and Seasoned Dungeoneer, taking the initiative and venturing into Undercity, fetching him an island into his hand. At the end of turn, Tanner activates Saga, creating a Karnstruct. The turn moves to Tanner. Tanner draws an Urza Saga, moves to Chapter 3. In response, Tanner activates Saga, creating a Karnstruct. Then, Saga sacrifices, and Tanner fetches up a Shadow Spear onto the battlefield. He moves to equip Shadow Spear to a Karnstruct. In response, Cole plays Lightning Bolt, destroying the Karnstruct. Tanner passes. At the beginning of his upkeep, Cole ventures into Undercity, putting 2 +1/+1 counters on Dungeoneer. He draws, plays a Sulphur Falls, and uptakes Kaido, making Tanner's construct unable to attack or block until his next turn. He plays Fatal Push, destroying the Orc army, and moves to combat, attacking Tanner with Dungeoneer, giving itself protection from creatures and exploring, keeping on top, putting another +1/+1 counter on Dungeoneer. Tanner takes the hit, and Kaido triggers, returning Dungeoneer to Cole's hand. He replays Seasoned Dungeoneer, venturing into Undercity, with Tanner losing 5 life. He uptakes Kaido, drawing a card, and passes. Tanner draws, and with no way out, sees the writing on the wall, and Cole wins the game. Tanner plays a Windswept Heath, cracks it, paying a life, fetching up a Scrubland. He plays a Lotus Petal, Oswald Fiddlebender, and Urza's Bauble, and passes. Cole draws, plays a Marsh Flats, and passes. Tanner draws, plays a Swamp, and a Voltaic Key. In response, Cole exiles a blue card from his hand to play Force of Negation, countering and exiling Key. Tanner follows it up by activating Oswald, sacrificing Bauble, fetching up a Sensei's Divining Top to the battlefield. At the end of turn, Cole cracks his Marsh Flats, paying a life, fetching him an Underground Sea, and plays Brainstorm, drawing 3 and putting 2 back on top. The turn moves to Cole. Cole draws, plays, and immediately cracks Wasteland, destroying Tanner's Scrubland. Cole passes. At his upkeep, Tanner spins top, looking at the top 3 and rearranging. He draws, plays Takanuma, Abandoned Mire, and activates top. In response, Cole plays Thought Scour, milling Tanner for 2 and drawing a card. Then, Tanner draws and puts top on top. He moves to combat, taking Cole with Oswald. Cole takes the hit, and Tanner passes. Cole draws, plays a Polluted Delta, and passes. Tanner draws and moves to combat, taking Cole with Oswald. Cole takes the hit, and in his second main phase, Tanner recasts top. In response, Cole plays Spell Pierce, countering top. At the end of turn, Cole cracks his Delta, banging life, touching up a Xander's Lounge tap. The turn moves to Cole. Cole draws, plays an Aaron Mesa, and passes. Tanner draws and moves to combat, taking Cole with Oswald. Cole takes the hit, and at the end of turn, Cole cracks his Mesa, banging life, touching up a Rogren Triumph tap. The turn moves to Cole. Cole draws and plays the One Ring, gaining protection from everything until his next turn. He activates the ring, putting a burden counter on it, drawing a card, and passing. Tanner draws and plays Urza Saga, moving to Chapter 1 when it enters, and passing. At the beginning of his upkeep, Cole loses a life from the ring. He draws, plays a Sulphur Falls, a Monastery Mentor, and passes. Tanner draws and Urza Saga moves to Chapter 2. He plays and cracks Prismatic Vista, banging a life, touching up a Plains, and Shieldred, the Apocalypse. In response, Cole activates the ring, putting a burning counter on it and drawing 2. Shieldred resolves, and at the end of turn, Cole plays Path to Exile, creating a Monk through Mentor, exiling Shieldred, with Tanner fetching up a Plains tap. The turn moves to Cole. At the beginning of his upkeep, Cole loses 2 life through the ring. He draws and activates the ring, putting a burning counter on it and drawing 3. He plays and cracks Fiery Islet, drawing a card, and passes. Tanner draws and Urza Saga moves to Chapter 3. He floats mana in response and Saga sacrifices, with Tanner fetching up a Grindstone onto the battlefield. He plays Painter's Servant, choosing red when it enters, and passes. At the beginning of his upkeep, Cole loses 3 life through the ring. Still at upkeep, Tanner activates Grindstone, targeting Cole. In response, Cole flashes in Snapcaster Mage, flashing back Path to Exile, creating a Monk through Mentor and triggering Prowess, exiling Painter's Servant, with Tanner fetching up a Swamp onto the battlefield tap. He follows it up with a Tundra and moves to combat, tagging Tanner with a Monk and Mentor. Tanner takes the hit, and Cole remembers Grindstone.
Oh, well, I actually have to do the Grindstone trigger, don't I?
Yep.
Yeah,
During your upkeep.
Yeah, so that means that this is the card I would have drawn.
Yep.
So, Fire, Ice, Shieldred.
Cole passes. Tanner draws, plays a Swamp, and Passageway Seer, taking the initiative, venturing into Undercity, fetching up a Swamp into his hand. He activates Oswald, sacrificing Grindstone, fetching up a Time Vault onto the battlefield tap. At the end of turn, in response to Passageway Seer's trigger, Cole flashes in a Fairy Mastermind. Then, Passageway Seer gets a +1/+1 counter, and the turn moves to Cole. At the beginning of his upkeep, Cole loses 3 life through the ring. He draws and activates the ring, putting a burden counter on it and drawing 4. He plays Mystical Tutor, creating a Monk through Mentor and triggering Prowess, fetching up a Flame Slash to the top of his library, and hardcasts a Gitaxian Probe, creating a Monk through Mentor and triggering Prowess, looking at Tanner's hand and drawing. He plays Flame Slash, creating a Monk token and triggering Prowess, destroying Passageway Seer. With lethal damage inbound and just a turn off, Tanner sees the writing on the wall, and Cole wins the match. Alright, going to the first round of CDH, Ballistic Studies has second place, all tied up between themselves and Igmothenheimer, with Orcish Bowmasters unable to find wins, falling definitively to last place.
Who's gonna push ahead? Who's gonna fall to the bottom? Who's going to sneak up and take home the prize? Find out next week by continuing to tune in to the Mayhem SummerSlam.